General David Petraeus, the top commander in Iraq, heads back to Capitol Hill this morning for a second day of testimony on the war.
Hard to believe it was 5 years ago today that the U.S. did take over Baghdad. And for now, the primary question remains. Lawmakers want to know, when can the troops start coming home? Fox 61's Sabrina Fang has more.
The man in charge of the U.S. war effort in Iraq said the surge has succeeded in bringing down the violence, but the security situation is far from stable.
We haven't seen any lights at the end of the tunnel. The champagne bottle's been pushed to the back of the refrigerator, and the progress, while real, is fragile and is reversible.
15 months into the surge, we've gone from drowning to treading water.
General Petraeus said he does plan to withdraw the extra soldiers who were part of the surge by this summer. But after that, a 45-day pause before any more pullouts.
Could that be as long as 3 months?
It could be, sir.
Could it be as long as 4 months?
Sir, it is when the conditions are met.
But the general would not define those conditions. Taking part in the hearings, the three presidential contenders, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, favor a phased withdrawal of troops. John McCain supports a stay-the-course strategy.
In the meantime, welcome news for military families. That's because tours of duty for U.S. soldiers are expected to go back down to 1 year. You may recall that they had been extended to 15 months.
And we may hear a little bit more about that tomorrow when the president himself will address the nation on the war.
Connecticut Congressman Courtney is on the Armed Services Committee, and he will be there today for testimony from General Petraeus. He was also there yesterday. He was listening, and he was also there to question as well.
Now, in fact, he joins us now talking about that testimony. And Congressman Courtney, we thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Rebecca. Good morning, Logan.
Good morning. And we do want to start by asking you, what's your response to General Petraeus and his comments that there will be no troop reductions?
Well, the House Armed Services Committee, which has the hearing starting today at 9 o'clock, I think the number one focus really is going to be how does this fit in with the state of our military readiness. Our committee has held numerous hearings over the last month or two regarding the fact that our ground forces have been stretched to a point that really we've never seen in American history. We see it in my Norwich district office with young soldiers coming in with orders for their 4th deployment over to Iraq, and that, I think, is probably the number one concern of Chairman Ike Skelton from Missouri, who's the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, who was actually up in Connecticut a few weeks ago. So I think you're going to see a lot of focus on, where does the general think that our ground forces are capable of sustaining 140,000 plus troops beyond the July date that he talked about yesterday. The second issue, I think, is going to be the status of forces agreement that the U.S. is now negotiating with the government of Iraq. Many of us are very concerned that this is going to create commitments far beyond the end of the Bush administration, and we feel that the Congress should get an opportunity to review that agreement. Yesterday, Ambassador Crocker testified that the administration's position is that this is not an agreement which is subject to congressional review or approval, which, again, I think you're going to see a lot of people zeroing in on that issue, because what we don't want is any long-term commitments being agreed to, at least without congressional input, between now and at the end of December.
What are the chances? We've been talking about the bill. It's designed to require that Iraq pay for more war using its oil profits. What are the chances this actually gets passed, and if it's passed, that it's actually followed?
Well, I'll tell you, there is a lot of, I would almost say, anger about the fact that they have billions, tens of billions of dollars of cash reserves that are being set up, and yet it's the U.S. that's been bearing the cost of infrastructure improvements, utilities, roads, bridges, etc. And there certainly is a feeling that it is the least they can do is to start expending their own resources, again, for their own domestic needs. And this is the type of issue where the status of forces agreement, any potential security agreement, these are the kind of issues that we feel should be flushed out and certainly subject to congressional review before we start signing any commitments, again, certainly beyond the end of this year.
Thank you so much, Congressman Courtney. We appreciate your response and joining us this morning. Thank you so much.
7:36.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, Logan.
7:36. Let's get to weather.